Welcome everyone to this exciting webinar where we will be talking about the standard and core practices for Microsoft 365 governance, specifically for the context of SMBs. And for that, we've invited a very special guest. It's no surprise for everyone. He's a Microsoft 365 MVP since 2011. And he's a regular speaker since 2009 across multiple Microsoft events. So Tech Days, SharePoint Connections, European SharePoint Conference, Collab and Cloud Summit, Collab Days, and so many other events. He's also started the SharePoint Portuguese user group and Collab Days here in Portugal. And finally, he loves the idea of by and for the community. And this is precisely why we're here today, right? So let's everyone give a warm welcome to Rodrigo Pinto.
Thank you.
Hi,
Thank
Rodrigo.
You,
how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Hey, you. I like those claps. Yeah. Thanks, guys and girls. Sorry. Okay, so let me present myself. So my name is Rodrigo Pinto. As Felipe said already, I'm a Microsoft MVP since 2011. I'm an enterprise architect. I work on a company called Perspective Dragon. My background, I started in finance and drilled into the SharePoint world since 2001. And on the first version, it was not even called SharePoint. It was called Tahoe. And I'm doing governance since the beginning. Okay, so the idea of this presentation is to actually expose a little bit of my experience through the years, through the different clients. So I went through from big companies to small companies to individual ones. I'm a straightforward guy. If sometimes I tend to stutter or something like this, is because I tend to explain a lot in a few words. Okay, and I don't have enough words to explain what's in my mind. So it's a good thing. Okay. So let's dive into the presentation. So this is the agenda. So we will talk about the governance. What is it? Align with Microsoft 365 governance and how to implement it. I will show you a little bit of the best practice for the governance, for the Microsoft 365 governance, and we will drill down a little bit more on the admin centers, okay? So governance, what is it? This is common sense, right? Governance is about having rules, policies, and process put in place to make sure that the IT systems are managed well and keep secure to meet the organization goals and regulation requirements. Basically, this is like a jargon, but the idea here is for the governance helps companies to make informed decisions about technology investments, manage risks, and ensure that IT resources are used efficiently and responsibly. Okay, that's the main idea. I'm going to drill a little bit more because this is aligned not just for the Microsoft 365, but in general. It basically involves by defining roles and responsibilities, set standards for IT operations, monitoring performance, and ensuring that the IT projects are delivered to the business. Okay, simply is about making sure that technology is the best way. Making sure that technology that we use is the best way to support the organization's goals. Okay, I'm hoping I'm not talking too fast. So Microsoft 365 governance means, again, having rules and process to control how Microsoft 365 is used in a company. There's a lot of Microsoft 365 wording on my speech. And the goal itself is to ensure that we're using the tools inside of the platform align again with the organizations or companies' goals. Okay, I'll always align with the regulation. That's the main thing here regarding the governance. That's part of the one of the items. Okay, benefits. Okay, so we have a lot of them. Usually I put 10. I think it's missing one. I don't know why, but it's 9 here. One of them is cost efficiency. Okay, the idea with the governance, we will get optimization on licensing and resources. And the idea here is to help business to manage the budget, the money, the thing that we receive at the end of the month, hopefully, with more efficiency. Okay. Another part also is the enhanced security. And the idea here is to protect data inside of the company. Okay, protection with sensitive and business status for cyber threats or implementing access controls, data encryption. All of this aligned to the security part. I think this is not actually new. This is like a jargon that's been used across not only the Microsoft 365 world, but across all of the other platforms. Okay, another one is the compliance. the idea here is the governance should help us to enforce compliance and industry regulations and standards. And the idea is to reduce the risks and the legals and financial penalties. Okay, I do a lot of work with gov companies, with other with Portuguese, with the other companies around the world. And one of the things that actually is not they never thought or never think of it is actually the data that you have is being exposed outside without you knowing. And that's the governance to actually enforce for that thing not to happen. Okay. Then we have improved data management. And the idea is to streamline the data storage, access, and sharing within the company. Okay, easily accessible, secure, all these kind of things. Monitoring, that's the next one. Proactive monitoring and reporting. With the governance, we will actually have tools, and we will actually have regular monitoring and reporting of the system's activities. And that's very important. If there's a data leakage, if there's any problem within, there's something that's not actually supposed to be outside of the company, you have, because you have the monitoring imposed by the governance, you will have those alerts aligned to it. One thing actually, it's curious on the benefits. Each time you actually, the governance itself implements each one of the benefits that you have here. It's a group of it's a consequences of the previous ones. So we'll improve data management. It's aligned because you have regulatory compliance, enhanced security, and cost efficiency. You have more data management. Proactive monitoring is the same thing. So the next one is the streamline operations. Okay, so the idea here is to have the governance will actually inflect clear policies and procedures within the organization, and the idea is to reduce complexity and allowing the users to work more efficiently. Okay, with that, we actually remember just keep those benefits in mind. Whenever you have all of this, including the streamlined operations, you can actually better decide what to do and what actually you need to decide on some of the issues or challenges that the end users have. Okay, regarding IT practices or data handling, we can actually do that part. Again, the next one is scalability. The idea is to support growth and easily adaptation within the systems with the governance. Okay, without compromising the governance itself. And in line with this, we have improved collaboration. If everything is defined, if everything is contained and secure. Okay, when I say secure, governance doesn't mean control. It mean it's a way for you to work better and safe, you and the company. Okay, that's the main idea on this one. I'm going to speed up a little bit because this is very huge. Okay, so we have like 6 scopes, and aligned with the benefits. Probably you already noticed the scopes itself. So we have the security and compliance, data management, application and service configuration, monitoring, reporting, user management, the access control, and the change management. Okay, the security and compliance. Main scopes are protecting sensitive information and maintaining the privacy. Okay, the access controls, implementing the access controls, data loss prevention, and auditing logging. Okay, and ensuring the compliance with legal and regulatory standards. The data management, define rules for data storage, access and sharing, retention policies, data classification standards, manage the entire data cycle across all the Microsoft 365 apps like SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, all these kind of things. Okay. Next one, application and service configuration. Standardize the configuration of the actual Microsoft 365 applications. The idea here is, that's usually what I do with the clients and with my teams, with suppliers, is if we have a way to actually have a standard for configuring the applications, configuring what you're doing, having templates, all these kind of things on Office 365 and other platforms, we should do it. Okay, the idea is to ensure consistency, security, and compliance always. So this was the application service and service configuration. There's a lot of text, a lot of wording, but it is what it is. So the monitoring and reporting is the next one, then on the scope. So the idea here, we should have monitoring and reporting tools to actually track service usage and performance. We should do always, and that's the key point also is do regular audits and generate reports for compliance and operational efficiency. So that's the thing that we put on this scope and that we should implement. Next one is the user management and access control. The idea here is to establish role-based access controls, implement multi-factor authentication, define user provisioning and deprovisioning of the process, and all of these kind of things. Okay. Last but not least, again, remember we work on organizations, companies, suppliers, clients, whatever, people, right? So the idea here with the governance is to minimize disruption to the users. Okay, one of the key points that I usually use with clients, teams, or whatever is working on whatever on whatever project I am, or client or supplier. I usually make a point that the users are one of the most important parts. They are the key point of a company. What makes a company is the people, the persons. It's not actually the products or the name or whatever, or the business. It's people. Okay, so the idea here is to minimize disruptions to the users. The idea is also to have the smooth adoption of the new capabilities on SharePoint, and always take into account changes on the platform. Microsoft settings, Microsoft tends to apply. Right now, they have all the platform in the cloud on their side, and they usually tend to apply updates and securities and changes on the platform. I mean, we need to be aware of that. With the governance, there's a couple of techniques that you can actually achieve that with the regular, consistently reporting and crawling the configurations. We can do that. Okay. When I look like a preach on a Sunday morning. Sorry about that, but it's needed. And the idea here is usually it's very interactive at the end. I'm hoping that there's a bunch of questions regarding this thing. Probably you don't ask me to actually explain each one of the lines again, but I will try to do an overview. So right now we have the common pitfalls, and this is actually the bottleneck right now for the old companies, for the companies that are using Microsoft 365 since the beginning. So we have the lack of clear governance policies. What's the problem here? So the problem here is if the governance policies are not very well defined, the end users, the users itself, misuse the features. Okay, and usually what that thing leads to security risks, non-compliance with the regulations, all these kind of things. Okay, so the idea here is to actually create a document or create a document with clear governance policies that outline how the Microsoft 365 platform and tools should be used. Okay, another part, and it's another thing, and it's actually aligned with the user training. Most of the users, and that's my experience, probably I'm not with the wrong clients because I'm not I'm not saying that, but most of the users don't fully understand the platform. Okay, it's our job as an IT, as a CEO, as a CTO, or as a trainee, as a whatever, the support guy. We need to provide within the company a way for them to be enlightened on everything regarding the platform, aligned with the governance guidance. Okay, and the idea is to provide training, ongoing support. Usually, what I do if there's imagine on a project that I have. I'm doing with a client, and the client has a lot of requests regarding a specific feature that they don't understand, or that leads to another to a big list of support issues. We do a session, we talk with them. The idea is always communicate. Okay, I think sometimes it's a bit difficult if the company is too wide, but there's ways that we can create silos, we can divide granular departments or areas to do that, but that's very important. Okay. Another thing also, it's overlay restrict permissions, and basically this is, I think this exists since the beginning of SharePoint, since the first version. So usually, because we're on IT, we block everything, okay, everything to a way that the actual user cannot do anything. So the idea here is to have a balance between the approach on what needs to be shared or not. Permissions itself needs to be a balance with the user work. Okay, the idea is not to limit the users itself. And what usually happens on most of the case on big companies, this is the top. This is within the top 10, the top 10 pitfall. Okay, another one. And I'm on the poor data management. Okay, the poor data management. The problem with this is without proper data classification, retention policies, and access controls, organizations may struggle to manage data efficiently, leading to data sprawl or loss. And basically, what does that mean, right? So the idea there is just because you have the data exposed, okay, you need to take into account that the management of that data needs to be taking seriously. Okay, I have a couple of clients with a couple of years on Office 365. This is a real example. I'm not naming the name of the client. Microsoft released the Copilot. Everybody loves the Copilot and whatever. One of the things that they did, they opened the Copilot for a bunch of people, and that bunch of people all of a sudden they had complaints, people from people actually stating like, oh, is there any issue with the Copilot because it's bringing something that I shouldn't use? And during the sessions with one of the clients, what I did was let me search the pay slip from the CIO, and I could. Okay, and the problem with that is just because it's new, we can use it, but it needs to be contained. Okay, that's actually the key point on the data management part. Compliance always, okay. The idea here is there's sensitive data, there's regulations to be aligned within the company, within the government, within the financial institutions, all these kind of things. So we usually what happens is not most of the companies, but at least on because if it's not most of the companies, no, not most of the departments, but the finance is the one that looks at this part, the compliance requirement. Finance and HR are the ones that actually look into with proper eyes. The rest is like it doesn't matter and whatever. And sometimes you work with clients that have documents that shouldn't be open as it is, and because it's not compliant, being exposed, GDPR, and all these kind of things. So that's one of the key pitfalls. Another one is the security features. Okay, so there's a couple of initial steps that we should use, like the multi-factor authentication, conditional access, or encryption that needs to be applied. Okay, most of them initially thinks that this is just a feature they need to do, but then when they start realizing they're on the other side of cyber threat and cyber attacks, it's a problem. Okay, I used to work with a couple of clients in Ireland, and there was a couple of public actually cyber attacks to the public sector that was huge. So right now, at least those government clients are aware of this kind of things. So it's more or less simple on Office 365, okay? Because the security feature that they have that Microsoft implemented on the platform is actually easy for you to implement those kind of features or blocking access, or I'm talking about the multi-factor authentication and the conditional access. It's easy peasy. Okay, and manage shadow IT. Okay, so usually if the IT doesn't reply promptly to the users, oh, why you don't give me that? I'm going to use Dropbox. I'm going to use whatever. And this is like on the top 10 also. So I had a client that actually grabbed information, the client didn't have ways of sharing information within the company. What happened was each one of them open a Dropbox and start dumping information from the company on that Dropbox. That was a problem. When we did the audit, there was on 10,000 users, there was around 600 and whatever that were actually not using those tools. So it's like 80% of the company was using shadow IT. So try to avoid that, and by the solution to avoid that is to regularly monitor shadow IT and provide users with alternatives. Okay, always communicate with the users. Always try to communicate. You don't need to go on each one of them. Try to the departments, the silos, the projects, define the rules, and then try to explain why we need to do that. The problem on the governance is usually we tend to do like, this is the rule, you need to stick with it, and then you don't explain why. If the users know what that part is implemented because of this, they will follow, and it's a rule, it's a corporate rule, but they will understand what they are doing. Okay. Lack of continuous monitoring and improvement. Most of them, okay, I have the monitoring tools there, but I'm not using. That can be a mistake, even in for the support teams, for the IT teams. That's actually one good point to have. That's the first thing that they usually do. And then you have the actual. No, I get lost. No, and then you actually have to implement the process for the continuous monitoring, review, and improvement of the governance policy. Okay. Another one is underestimating the importance of the change management. The change users, again, they need to understand what they're doing, what's coming, what are the guidelines on the company. Okay, so the idea here is always to have the smooth adoption of the governance policies and tools. That's part of the IT teams or the gov team within the companies. And this is actually curious because I've been on this thing on the last 10, 20 years or something like that. And at the beginning, whenever you apply the governance policy, everybody was taking on it, right? In 1990 something, 1998 or whatever. Now, what happens is they tend to bend the policies and the rules to their benefit. So they can do that if the governance policies are not consistent and are not well defined. So there needs to be the governance policies needs to be enforced across all departments and teams in the same way. Okay, this is kind of boring. Huh? Well, it's not, but it's important. I'm sorry. Yeah, even I had to have some notes on this thing because it's too much information. Okay, so Microsoft 365 governance best practices. So first of all, use the built-in security features. Okay, so Microsoft invested. We are paying for that. Companies are paying. You have the teams. You have everything there. Any security feature that you need currently right now exists within the platform. Okay, so Microsoft includes on the Microsoft 365 platform, they have the strong security features that actually help us to protect data and prevent cyber threats. We don't need any extra product to do that. Okay, it's out of the box. Just use it. The enable multi-factor authentication. The conditional access, the data loss prevention policies, encryption, monitor, out of the box. Okay. Another best practice is to implement role-based access control. Okay. Role-based access control helps to manage who can access what information and perform tasks with it. Okay. And the idea here is define roles and assign permissions based on job functions. Okay. Use always the principle of least privilege. Yes, I'm reading the notes because it's too much information, but there's no problem. Use the principle of least privilege, ensuring users have only the access they need to perform their duties. Okay. If you always have this kind of thought, it's not just on a global way of thinking on the corporation, but even on your projects, it's always good to have that part in mind, because whenever you do that part in mind, we have that part in that section in mind, that say in mind, you actually are contributing proactively to the safety of the company, of your project, or of the department. So keep that in mind. Okay, the idea here is to also consistently audit permissions to adjust for role changes or updates. Always monitoring, always looking, always doing the other things. Okay. Another one. This is one I put it because I actually worked for 10 years on the stock market part, and they are the ones that have those ones, and the banks and the brokers. They have strict and overcomplicated governance policies. Okay, and most of the things that happen. So the point being here is we need to develop clear governance policies. When I say clear, don't overcomplicate it. Okay, as long as you actually respect and are aligned with the company's goals and the compliance, you don't need to overcomplicate it, the policies itself. Okay, how can we do that? So the idea is to create documentation. I know it's a pain in the arm, but we need to actually have documentation to do that. And by having documentation, it's like 100 pages or whatever. If you don't have it right now, start small. Even the smallest three or four pages of a guidance on governance is useful. It's better than not having anything. And then what happens is if you involve people on the departments, even the users, anyone to actually contribute on that documentation, the governance and the company itself can grow, and you grow together. Okay, it's not that, oh, I need to add this and add that and whatever. No, this is the guideline. We need to adjust that part. What's the next? The next is continuous monitoring and improvement. So always checking, always. So the one key point I usually do here is governance is not one shot. Is an ongoing process. Okay, the idea here is the monitoring needs to coexist. Always need to look into and use the Microsoft 365 billion monitoring tools to track the user activities, security incidents, compliance. Everything is there. Okay, it's just a matter to understand what is it that we're searching for. What do we need to actually do? Now, don't actually overlap this best practices because this actually, even if you have the if you tend to actually, oh no, I don't need this because I don't need to monitor everything and whatever, you can have surprises that in the future that are not that good. I've been on those ones after the the migrations, and it's kind of a nonsense. Okay, so the other one is again attached to the users, the provide regular training and awareness programs. Okay, and this is actually one of the baseline. Defining this type of baseline for all the users within the company is easy. What makes it difficult is the constant changes on the platform. So those documentations and those trainings needs to be a constant part. And I'm not saying like every month or this kind of things, but usually companies usually do on every 3 months or every 4 months, 6 months. They do specific training to specific changes within the platform. And I'm not just talking about the end users. I'm talking about the ITs. I'm talking about the developers that working on the company developing any type of actual solution. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting old. I'm forgetting what I'm saying, but it doesn't matter. So it's too much information. Again, it's useful for you to guys at least, if I can get at least 10% of your brain on this, at least on this files, it's a good thing. At least I'm pleased. Okay. Yeah, and that's it regarding the best practices. Now, why is this mistake changing? Give me just 1 second. Okay, so now let's get to the Microsoft 365 admin centers. Okay, so the admin centers are the crucial part of the governance. Okay, so Microsoft already constantly improving the tools for us to manage and to monitor the environment itself. Okay. The main ones, the list keeps growing, but I'm putting here the main ones. So the main ones that we have here are the Security and Compliance Center. It's the Security and Compliance Center. It's regarding the threat protection and data loss prevention. We have the Exchange Admin Center, aligned with the emails. Checking the time. And we have the SharePoint Admin Center, SharePoint, and Teams Admin Center. I'm going to do a little bit more on each one of them. I think it's not boring. So Admin Center, Security and Compliance Center. This Microsoft Purview and Microsoft Defender. Okay. Basically, this is to defend. This is to be used against threat protection. We have tools that defend against malware and phishing, data loss prevention. So the idea here is to keep sensitive data safe from sharing from outside of for being shared outside of the company. And we have also the compliance management, and the idea is to enforce regulations within the industry standards. Okay, that's the key point on the security and compliance center. I can drill on each one of them, and you can last like 6 hours on each one of them. I'm not doing that, so I need to speed up because I want to go to the Q&A. So the Exchange Admin Center. This is everything regarding to emails, the emails itself, manage and control how emails are handled, the permissions regarding who can manage and who can access the emails, and the protection of the email communications with the security measures. Okay, that's the security part. Okay, and the good old SharePoint Admin Center. So here, everything related with SharePoint and collaboration inside and SharePoint and collaboration, exactly. And the idea is to keep documents organized and easy to manage. Settings regarding the collaboration itself actually defines, and we can define how people are working together on the documents. Okay, and then there's the silos part. In this case, on the SharePoint part is the site collections itself. If site collection itself, and the idea here, the site collections are silos, and we can organize and manage the site collections as on the admin center. Okay, this is not new, just common sense. I'm just enlightening some of you that probably don't have all of the ideas on this thing. And then we finally have the Teams Admin Center, where we can have the admin setting rules for messaging, for messaging, for file sharing within Teams, and meeting options. For those that don't know what's behind Teams regarding the file repos or repository, it's SharePoint. Okay, so there's when Teams. Well, I don't know if you know the story behind Teams. Team was born was created to actually to create a Microsoft-like Slack tool, and it grew for what you were using right now. We are doing this in Teams. Yeah, we are doing this in Teams. So it grows. Well, it grew, and the adoption was used. So the Teams Admin Center exists for us to, again, communicate the policies, define team structures, and define out how the way are the Teams memberships are managed, set up and managed, and we can track the users' activities within the admin center. There's a lot of other options and other admin centers, but I think those are the main ones. Okay, so this is amazing, right? All out of the box. We already paid it, and it's not cheap for the enterprise. We paid it and all out of the box, but it's not a drawback. Everything is out of the box, right? One thing that actually annoys me on this is we don't have a way to actually easily reach each one of the admin centers, right? And one of the things I'm always keen to do, and I do a lot of scripting, and the scripting is a way that's a point of executing whatever we need to execute, but that's for the IT person, not actually the end user. The idea on this one is, if there was a tool or a company that had a tool that actually does this kind of things, it should be very interesting, right? And actually, we do have a tool, and we do have a company that have that great idea of actually having those kind of settings being applied to multiple silos. Okay, and basically what you see here on the screen itself, this is the app, the BindTuning app. It's a great tool. You can define your template of governance. Okay, like a general one is just you put just a template with the policies. But you can even go in details on each one. You can define your own template. You can define the policies that needs to be activated or not. And the idea on this is currently, right now, I know that I don't know what's the current state, but I know that BindTuning has this approach for the SharePoint sites and for the teams. But as the Microsoft tool is evolving with other tools, they are actually pointing the two to be aligned with the product. So this is, for me, this is awesome. This is like it avoids like going back and forth on the admin centers just to set this thing up, set that thing out. So imagine in a perfect world where you have a template that you can define whatever you need to do on that template, on an overview or on a major one, and then you can even define on the details on each one of the policies. Okay, and that's the product that BindTuning has been working on the last years, and that's one of the things that's actually it's very exciting to have for us to manage all as a friend of mine, all the nonsense of the admin. It's not nonsense; it's actually governance, and we need to apply it. But now we have a tool that actually can help us to do that thing quickly. Okay. And yeah, and that's it. I talk a lot of jargons, a lot of text, a lot of cartoons. If you want to give me one, you can send me one, not through here. And back to you, Flipa. Sorry about the time.
No problem. So, as Rodrigo said, we're a little bit over our time, but we do have space here for questions. So feel free to just raise your hand or turn on your camera or your microphone and drop your questions. We're more than happy to answer all of them. Any questions so far? We do have one here at the chat, but I want to give the opportunity to someone if they want to speak up first. All right, no rush. Over here.
Me?
You have a question. Great.
Yes. Was this thing interesting? Is something it's something new for you guys and girls? Sorry, you guys and girls, or it's something that you are aware, but probably you didn't have the guidelines. Not you didn't have the tool. Now you have a tool. Or nobody's replying. Come on, guys. I don't bite.
We don't.
Okay. That's okay.
They're shy. They're shy.
They're shy. That's a problem.
All right, Rodrigo, we do have a question here at the chat, and it would be great if we can get recommended checklist on governance for 1, business standard, 2, business premium, and 3, Microsoft 365 E3. What do you have to say about this, Rodrigo?
Yeah, it wouldn't be good to have. Yes, it would be good. You can define the standards itself, but I actually tried to do that in the last 5 years. And you define the baseline, but each one of the standards that you define for each one of the licensing models, it differs for company to company. One thing that can happen is, and that can help, this tool can have actually define the tool that BindTuning is doing. Actually, you can have those guidelines applied to a template, and have the template applied to within yourself. But it's not straightforward answer. Actually, I can give you a couple of examples. Finance has, for the licensing and for the kiosks and for the E5s and for whatever E is coming, they have specific rules for specific scopes within projects. It's even worse. Okay, it's not departments. It's not a project. It's a one project with multiple scopes inside. Okay, it actually depends on the company itself. Sorry if I didn't help. Yeah, I'm that guy.
I noticed that some people were muted. Can everyone now unmute themselves, or is it a pressing issue that we're having?
I can unmute.
Okay, that's great. Hi, Shannon. How are you?
Hi. Fine, thanks. How are you?
Great.
Good.
Happy to hear you.
I do appreciate all the information, and I do have some governance in place, but it's been challenging for my organization to prioritize it. I think we do a lot of things, but we don't write it down and administratively guide it. I think now with how you've presented things, I can at least map out something very simple and get us started. To your point, is get something written and get going.
Yeah, exactly.
So I appreciate your help.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. So even the awareness it's an improvement, right? So one of the things I'm working on the last 20 years, I think 20. I don't even remember, 1998, 97. And one of the things I came from the stock market, and the stock market was a scope completely closed in 1999. Nobody can say anything outside of that scope. And all of a sudden, the internet exploded, and the microcomputers exploded. And right now, it's completely the opposite, right? So the new Gen Z, or whatever the name calls the new generation, thinks that they can. Sorry. Think that they can share everything. You have the TikToks, you have the whatever. They don't think about what they are sharing. And then actually, you have startups all across Europe and the States that actually are sharing things with video. I'm not talking about even documents. I'm talking about more on the on the video part, on the media part, a lot. And they actually, because the video is something that you can actually, now you can because you have AI, but it's actually that you cannot actually go inside and see each one of the words, what you're saying, that part, you know. And some of the information that they have is actually exposed and shouldn't be exposed. And the problem, they are exposing that without knowing the compliance and regulation, GDPRs. Okay, that's one of the things that's become an issue here in Europe. Yeah, it's tough, but at least the awareness. It's very important to have the awareness. That's the beginning, and it's important to have the tools also. Actually, I'm not kidding. Having a tool to do this, it's like it's blown away. For you to define a way to actually apply a template to be applied within a project, within a site, you doing that thing manually, it's exhausting. Been there, done that, a lot of times, a lot of years. So yeah, it's not the sales speech, okay? It's my honest opinion. Okay?
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'm in healthcare, and to your point you made earlier regarding Copilot, you know, yeah, it's the newest, greatest thing, but we aren't ready. We don't have our data labeled. We don't have sensitivity in place. And I'm still working with my leadership to get going with this, because we're going to want to play with it soon. Definitely within Microsoft 365, it will change our game, but we're not ready to let go. Who knows where our data is?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point. And this is like the crucial. I think most of the Copilot AI is it's on the new wave and all these kind of things. Let's use AI and all these kind of things. But they actually, with that, there's a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is everybody thinks that the Copilot will solve everything that they do every day. It will solve part of it. The bad part there is the good part there is they actually start to be aware that their data is exposed, because Copilot is just searching with permissions that you have. And if you go on search and do the same thing that Copilot is going to do, you will find the documents you shouldn't find if that thing is not well implemented. So that's at least a good thing on the bad within the bad thing. Okay. Sorry, talk too much again.
No,
it's good. With important information. So
yeah, sorry about that.
It's just good to know I'm not alone. I mean, there are lots of us out there in the same boat. We're all in the same boat.
Everybody's on the same tribe.
Yeah.
Thanks for the input.
Thank you so much for the awesome presentation. And I would just like to add a little bit to what Shannon just mentioned. Hi, Shannon. Great seeing you. It's been a while.
Good to see you too.
Great seeing you. So when you think about smaller companies, obviously resources are super limited. Like if you had to give 2 suggestions on where to start, what would those be? Okay, like we can't focus on everything. So 2 good tips on what companies should do to get started.
So first of all, one thing I do regarding that part is the I don't know if I'm repeating myself, is the access itself and the privacy. That's the common issues, and then have ways and have tools to implement that thing easily with no stress, because most of the problems there is actually you actually know what needs to be done, but probably implementing it's not that easy. Okay. One of the things that I like on the tools, on your tools and other tools that exist on the market, is actually they actually allow you to define a process, okay, to have that process implemented. Even if you don't have any tool, and even if you if you don't you don't have budget to buy other types of tool, I would start with the accesses and with the privacy part. That's the most important part. Okay. One of the things, if you guys want to actually look into how to block completely and have the security level being adjusted, one thing that the clients are doing right now and using as a starting point is the actual starting point of the Copilot locking down the tenant itself. That's actually a good point on that part. Even if they are not using the Copilot, okay, they are looking at those lines, those items to actually start thinking of locking and doing the proper assessment and proper governance on things. And Microsoft documents have that part. Okay. So sorry if I'm keep repeating myself, getting old. Sorry.
I
Great.
think it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
It's just
I
the
don't know.
hard one. Start with the
Yeah.
hard one.
Yes, and then it's easy one. That's
It's
that,
the
that's
hard
actually,
one.
yeah. It's the actually a Chinese saying. You start with the big rocks and then you go to the small ones, because the small ones, when you do the small ones, you're not that tired. Right? That's a Chinese saying, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending this, to listen to this old developer, enterprise architect right now. The rank is the same, the person is the same, straightforward. And that's it.
And I don't see any additional questions. If you do, please bring them in. And if not, we're always here to for you to talk to. Rodrigo itself, he's already shared his personal contacts. And when it comes to BindTuning, you already know. You can either access via BindTuning.com or app.bindtuning.com, and we will be more than happy to help you in your business. Thank you so much, and talk soon.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for the
Bye.
inputs. Bye-bye.